Don't buy green pesto. That's it. Here's why though. Hello and welcome back to cooking. Pesto is one of the quickest and most delicious pasta sauces, but it never tastes as good when it's store-bought. This is especially true for green pesto because it has some ingredients that really suffer from pasteurization. That's actually why store-bought basil pesto tastes nothing like fresh basil. And it also contains ingredients like sugar and potato flakes, and some of them even have bamboo fibers. You deserve better than this. Now there's plenty of videos online on how to make homemade basil pesto, and I feel like there's not much I can add to this. I'll add 2 of my favorite videos in the description below. But today, I want to show you something different. And because you deserve better, I will show you not 1, but 2 outstanding homemade pesto recipes. A rocket and lemon butter pesto, and an avocado and sun-dried tomato pesto. And the best part, they can both be made in the time it takes to cook your pasta, and I guarantee they'll taste better than anything you can buy in the supermarket. So let's jump into the kitchen. Start by setting a pot of water to boil and add some salt. While it comes to a boil, get all your ingredients together. Here's everything you'll need for this recipe. For the rocket salad, I recommend going for the smallest leaves you can find as they are less bitter. You can also add 10 grams of basil to this recipe, but that's completely optional. When it comes to cheese, either Parmesan or Pecorino will do. I made the recipes with both, and I personally preferred Parmesan for both pesto recipes. Now, too much garlic can ruin pesto. Raw garlic is really overpowering, and adding too much is the most common mistake people make with homemade pesto. Now, garlic comes in all shapes and sizes, so I suggest using around 1 gram of garlic per portion. You can always add more later on, but you can't take any away. Now this recipe is for 2 portions, so I'll just use this small clove. Although pine nuts are the classic choice for pesto, they can be quite pricey. But don't worry, you can use almonds, cashews, or peanuts instead. I've tried them all for making this video, and my favorite alternative is definitely almonds. You don't need any fancy equipment to make pesto. You can use a mortar and pestle, a food processor, a spice grinder, any blender, or just a knife and a cutting board. I'll show you many of these options in this video. Now that the water is boiling, add your pasta. Since I won't finish this pasta in a pan as I do in my other pasta videos, I will cook it past al dente, which means 12 minutes in this case. While that cooks, blend the pine nuts, lemon zest, the juice of half a lemon, and the garlic into a paste. Add the rocket salad and olive oil and blend well, stopping to scrape the sides occasionally. Next, add the pepper, Parmesan, and butter and briefly blend and taste for seasoning. Once the pasta is ready, drain it and throw it back into the pot to keep it warm, reserving some of the pasta water. Now add 2 generous tablespoons of pesto and about 1 tablespoon of pasta water per portion, mixing well. The water will help give it a creamy texture. Add more pesto and water as needed for this glossy, vibrant green look. Once you're happy with the seasoning, plate it, sprinkle some Parmesan, and enjoy a comforting bowl of deliciousness. Now for some bonus tips. If you're using gluten-free pasta, avoid using the cooking water since it doesn't taste good. Dissolve half a teaspoon of cornstarch in a little water and add half a cup of hot water and about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and use that instead. For smaller portions, you can use a spice grinder. It produces a creamier texture and it is super easy to clean. Now if you don't have a blender or a spice grinder at home, don't worry. The avocado pesto is the perfect recipe for you. This is one of my all-time favorite recipes, and it is actually the one and only YouTube video I made 12 years ago. But don't worry, I'm not gonna subject you to it because you definitely deserve better than this. Once again, start by setting a pot of salted water to a boil, and while it heats, get all your ingredients together. Here's everything you'll need for the avocado pesto. If you want an extra kick, I strongly recommend adding some chili. Fresh or dried is great, but so is cayenne pepper or Tabasco. Tabasco works particularly well if you're not blending the pesto because it spreads evenly. Once your water is boiling, add your pasta and then cook it fully. While that cooks, start chopping the garlic with a little bit of olive oil and some salt, then incorporate the pine nuts and finally the coriander with its stalks. Keep chopping until you have something like this. You don't need to make a paste, the avocado will be creamy enough. Give the sun-dried tomatoes a rough chop and add everything to a bowl. Now add the avocado, lime, chili, and olive oil and mash it all together with a potato masher or a fork. Now add the Parmesan and give it a taste. Since this was an unusually large avocado, I need to add a little bit more of everything and taste again. Once the pasta is done, drain it and reserve some cooking water. Mix it all until you get this beautiful creamy texture. If you happen to have any leftovers, store them in a jar and cover it with olive oil to keep it from oxidizing. Just make sure you eat it within 3 days for best flavor. You can also make this recipe with any kind of blender. Just make sure you add the sun-dried tomatoes at the end and don't blend them or you'll get a muddy brown color. This dish is one of a kind and it tastes amazing. I served both recipes to Alex and Abby because I'm an amazing friend, and Alex clearly preferred the avocado pesto, whereas Abby liked them both equally, and neither of them liked my French.
Merci, chef.
Merci, chef, Patricia.
Let me know in the comments below if you're team rocket lemon or team avocado. Now, I get that sometimes you're just too tired to cook, and I totally get how practical it is to have something that's just store-bought and ready. For those instances, I recommend getting something like pesto rosso, since it's made with ingredients that don't suffer much from pasteurization. But if you have a bit of energy left at the end of the day, I really hope you try making your own pesto and have the kind of dinner that you deserve. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you in the next one.